Hey, good morning, everybody. Something clicked on my keyboard here. I'm gonna have to restart, but I'll just go for now since the mouse is working and Dan takes over. Um, all right, so there's a lot of things going on. Markets are brushing it off again. Well, it didn't brush it off so much last week, but it was just a big whip around. But gold is surging here, up above 5,000. It's going parabolic. It's extended. As it can become more extended at this point. There's no sign of a any weakness. It's stalled at 5,100, which is typical. I mean, it gapped up through 5,000 and it was just stalled underneath there. At some point, of course, it's going to pull back, whether it's today or it just keeps going higher. Clearly, there's a panic to get in, and part of that could be related to the dollar. And if you read any on X at all, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of chatter about the dollar and about the yen and the carry trade, and overwhelmingly, there's this bias, which you got to think the other way a little bit, in the contrarian way, but that they're calling for the market to crash. Um, and some of these people are very sensational, whereas it's going to crash in a matter of hours or a matter of days and so on and all of that. But we'll see. So you can see the yen here, this big reversal, which and then a continuation, and it's up at resistance. We always follow what we utilize to make our decisions. Uh, Trend, support, resistance, voids, looking to the left, so on and so forth. And so they, talk that the Japanese government is intervening and maybe the US is going to help, and interest rates are going up there. And of course, the cost to borrow uh, versus, maintaining to pay that borrowing cost is accelerating. And, we've seen this carry trade kind of thing um, create issues before. So, but the market is brushing it off. It's like, who cares? And whether that's complacency or it's really a big nothing, and time is going to tell. So as we look at the futures, we see that they were down overnight and they're back up to where they were. So you can see here the yen going up, the dollar's going down. You look at the euro um, accelerating higher, and let's look at Canada. Canada going up, and so you probably read already. Now the president is going to put 100% tariffs on Canada. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition or not. For contemplating to do business with China or some partnership. In any event, we have the dollar collapsing. Well, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but in the short term, a big move. And there's the pound going up and accelerating higher. Um, when you see moves like this, obviously somebody's making a lot of money and somebody's getting hurt. So it depends on who's getting hurt. And there's the Australian dollar, skyrocketing up. Um, and to look at the dollar, you can see, the big drop that's occurred here. So that's what's unfolding. And so we look at what the bond market has to say about that and the equity markets. And we look at what bonds are doing. And what we see bond prices moving up, which means interest rates moving down. And this week, this is definitely something to keep an eye on because of this breakdown that occurred and the breakout in interest rates. And it's just coming up to where we know, just based on technicals, where sellers are going to be. What was support becomes resistance, and it's coming at there. I mean, into there, and no significant rollover signs yet. It's stalled. 200 MA is there, declining 20 under a declining 50, and plenty of supply in that area where sellers should materialize. And then we'll see if this starts to drop, which then you have 10-year making a bullish turn here. And just they're inverse, price versus yield. This makes a turn and this starts to rally. And this would be something to see if this actually happens. That if yields turn up and start moving aggressively to the upside and the dollar is falling, maybe equities do fall apart. But right now, just a lot of nothing going on. And it's been a lot of nothing for about 2 weeks that the market's been in a correction mode. There's the 30-year. Well, that had broken out of this little consolidation in December and just chopped around and chopped around. And last week, it continued higher. And now it's pulling back to where buyers should show up. Now, when I look at this chart, it's a little different than the 10-year, but when prices, and this is just general observation, how I look at things, where something is really, in this case, bullish and breaking out like this, first of all, it would have come up to here. And then it would have pulled back and would have stopped on top of the breakout area. So this communicates, while you got to respect this breakout, there's a little uncertainty still about this continuing higher as aggressively as that gapped up. And maybe in part, this was in some way connected to that yen dollar thing. So we're going to see how it unfolds. So let's look around at other markets and we look at the futures. And so while they were lower overnight, buyers just stepped in again. And it's just a lot of nothing going on here. And look, there's been a lot of nothing going on since the end of last year, where things became this was advancing. It was still, I don't remember what this big down day was for, but maybe Trump said something again. But you can see this type of price action, which is quite controlled, where the bars are relatively equal in range, and you have a strong move up. And this one, the momentum slowed down. But here it got really wild. And a couple of weeks ago, I made a post, a little article about the coiling spring. And so this was beginning to tighten up. And then we got, the tariff, and, Trump's going to tariffs on Europe. And then, oh, maybe I'm not, and Greenland and all that, blah, blah. And so now it's the yen and interest rates going up and the market's going to crash. And so over the weekend, last night, futures go down. Now they're back up to where they started. And overall, you just got a giant mess going on here. Basically a trading range which means an indecision. And you see the last 2 weeks especially have just been a mess of whips, new high, break down below the low, back up again in the middle of the range. And it's just a chop fest. It is what it is. Anybody who has opinions, the market's going up or the market's going down, the market's going to crash. Well, just look at what is. And so with all those opinions, the market's just marking time, doing a lot of nothing here. And that's the reality of what's happening. It's just chopping back and forth and whatever's going on in the world. Trump comments, Greenland, yen, this and that. Nobody really knows with any definitive answer to it, because otherwise it would be trending up or down, not sideways. Qs, chopping sideways, trading range. Try to go up, try to go down, back up into the middle of the range. And we often say moving averages are a visual aid because we don't really need them, but visual aid means it helps us in some way. And how does it help us? Well, it helps bring some clarity when we look at a chart in the moment, regardless of what it is. And you can pick what moving averages you want, right? Simple, exponential, weighted, triangular, whatever, proprietary ones. But if the shorter one is above the intermediate term one, and they're both rising at a 45-degree angle, that's an uptrend. And then you look at individual candles. When they're intersecting each other like sine waves back and forth and tight like that, the coil is getting wound. And so now we don't have any definitive move, but what we see is there are sellers up there, there are buyers down here. It's in the middle of the range. What was down overnight, it's now back up into the middle of the range there, and it's just marking time. Right. Let's look at the Russell. And that's where the strength has been. Now, yes, strong. And it was all erratic over here, and then it picks up, and there's a pretty good down day on Friday, right? That moved down. It did have a little breakout failure. You can see up here, and then it didn't regroup to go higher. So that brought in some sellers, and it fell, and now it's stabilizing here on this major support area. There's a pivot low. You can see, right, you look over to the left and you see the congestion that's over there. And so it's just holding its own in light of all of this commentary about yen carry trades and the dollar collapsing and so on. So not really much going on with all of this news. The Dow, the same mess, right? It looks different, but the same thing's going on. At least the moving averages are facing up with the shorter above the intermediate term one, and the 200 is way down here. But on a day-to-day basis, it's just a flip-flop of a mess. And the news, and so this whole thing, I guess maybe at this point you could say about some complacency as to the fact that uh, Trump's saying 100% tariffs on Canada, and it's like, oh, the market dipped down. Was it that? Was it the yen thing? And the market participants are just saying, we're just tired of this. Who gives a damn? Just buy it. Right? Buy the dip. And overall, it's still just chopping back and forth. So, whatever opinions there are on a day-to-day basis or moment-to-moment basis, it changes on a dime. But it doesn't change on a dime when it comes to gold. Of course, this, you could say, is becoming extended, no doubt. And it stalled at 51. I mean, it went right through 49, 47, 48, 49, 5,000, 5,100. And so a little bit of a panic, fear of missing out or whatever the reasons is, but it's getting kind of parabolic and it's getting extended, but no one's selling so quick. There's no evidence of any heavy selling yet. At some point, yes, it'll happen. Lots of talk about silver and different, you got to fact check everything that you see posted because there's so much bullshit out there and people just posting stuff to get, I don't know, likes, attention. It's just terrible. So, some of this stuff should be, in my opinion, put a clamp on some of these people that are out and out just lying and making up stuff, but there was this consolidation and, last week it was about, can it get through 100? Oh yeah, watch this. 110. And, at some point, maybe it's going to go to 120 as this starts to move up from this consolidation. And of course, as it goes higher and higher, longs at some point will say, you know what, this is ridiculous. Different opinions anyway. Somebody thought it was ridiculous here. And it keeps going. At some point, obviously, it's going to pull back. It's always the way. What happens? Now, a lot of speculation about Bitcoin. Now, we saw all of this nice consolidation that was happening. And buyers down here at the pivots. It moves up, little hook pattern, little buy setup, different names for whatever you want to call it. Was an obvious place where buyers would show up, and they did. And without even getting to any resistance, maybe again, this is about Trump, maybe it's about the yen, whatever it is, it came down real hard. And now it's at the bottom of the base where buyers are going to be. So what do we do with that? For me, and I'm not going to sell at the bottom of the base. I'm not long, I'm not shorting it, but we need a pattern now. I know there are buyers down here. You look to the left and you see multiple pivots. One second, guys. All right. So what kind of pattern is produced down here if it's going to go lower? Failed attempts to go higher. And at the moment, the gap down, and it's getting bought because it's at support. It's plain and simple. Now, some attempt to go higher today that turns into a topping tail bar, some kind of big red bar, that, and then a little consolidation, that supports lower. You can see the weekly chart, support, support, and a nasty move to the downside. On the weekly chart, you've got that attempt, that was that move here, that failed. So that doesn't mean it can't flip back up again. And that's why we have patterns, whether it's a topping tail, whether it's a bearish 180, or whether it's a bear sandwich or a bull sandwich, right? This could turn, as Dan calls it, he must have been hungry one day, called things a bear sandwich, where the green bar comes right back up again with the red bar in the middle. And so that could happen here. Point being, no matter where we look here, pretty much other than gold and silver, there's confusion. And that means chop, and that means you better be nimble. Right? So if we look at erythium, sometimes you get a little bit of a different picture, but we don't. It's at the bottom of the trading range. Plain and simple. The bottom of the trading range. There's the top of the trading range. It moved down and move up again, and it's just flip-flopping around here. And if it cannot go up, that increases bias that it'll go down. So when it came down here, it immediately went up. Big red bar down, it went up. Came down, it went up. Now, are they tired of trying to make it go up? Maybe. The picture that will be produced is it'll go sideways and then break. Right? Maybe it'll fall through here, but this is right now at the bottom of the trading range. All right. Go here. And the Q's doing a lot of nothing. And you know what? Last week there were some, issues, not major, but look, KRE, which was strong, the regional banks came down really, really hard. And there are others, if you look at the financial, XLF, of course, software, which looks terrible. So there are plenty of things that are bearish, and there are other things that are bullish. And they're in opposition of each other, and things are just flip-flopping around. All right, SPX. So marking time, doing nothing. And there are the numbers for today. Let's move this over a little bit. That's where prices are at. And so the middle of the range, and we'll see which way things are going to go today. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Let me post this level. All right, just sending that. Yeah, it was more difficult finding trades for the weekend letters. Sometimes it's shooting fish in a barrel. And we have not very many at all. And, Greg talking about the silver, one of our subscribers sends me some macro stuff from somebody he's been following for a long time. And I forget the guy's name, but he comes up with things that, you know, sound outlandish. But he had $100 target on silver like over a year ago. And then the guy told me a month ago he raised his target to 1.25. So just something interesting. And we're in gold, and Paul in the ETF letter. I mean, that on Thursday, that was a beautiful continuation pattern. So I'm not selling this gap up. Should have pulled back. Yeah, they're getting far from the 20. Alarms, cores. All right, this one actually was in the weekend letter, and now it's coming in, which I like because it'll be a clean hit instead of having to deal with gapping over the entry. So Friday, oh, it's Friday. Friday's high right now, 1921. Okay, so I have it in the bottom right there. We'll just watch it at the open. That's a continuation pattern. The breakout, well, it broke out here in a little buy setup. So we actually did buy it there. Had a nice swing trade. Closing breakout went nowhere. Downside shakeout, back up, void. So that looks good. And Iran is a little bit similar. I like that one too. And this one's gapping down, so that'll be a clean hit if it takes Friday's high out. Breeze alarm, we're in trail mode. We bought that Climo on Wednesday. NMG gapping up. Graphite. So I've been watching that. We scanned a bunch of material stocks last week, and this was one of them. So I've been watching this. My alarm went off. That could be a 5-minute high. NLR nuclear. We're in this also in the ETF letter. My up alarm went off, so we're getting near this high. I think it's going to 160 in this run. And that's it on alarms. KView, we entered this on Friday, but that's a beautiful pattern to add or enter if you're not in it. Couple earnings here, not many. Still bullish breakout. Steel's been strong, materials have been strong. Gapping up $3 though, so nothing to do. Airline gapping down, no pattern. What are jets doing? I looked at the cruise ships. And jets gapping down here, so that actually the pattern is a call spread. If there's any juice over Thursday. Delta X-ray, no pattern, but it is bullish weekly, monthly. I'll keep an eye on it. Bow Bank, regional bank. Yeah, like a bunch of regionals look fantastic on the breakout on Wednesday. And then deeper tracing. BKR is a oil driller, which has been strong, no pattern. This is not earnings, but I think the news was the government's going to take a stake in them. Wow, is that tail real? Pre-market went to 40. But even still, gapping up 30. Let's keep an eye on that for a call spread. But materials have been strong, oil's been strong. There's some type of news here, but this one's getting extended. And just look how far from the 20. Look at how these moving averages are separating It did come out of a nice base on the weekly monthly, but it's more of a call spread. See, that CVX is more rested because of all these overlapping bars, but no pattern that interests me. This APP just got an upgrade. Climo, that's a 30-minute high watch. I got it here in the middle chart. It's NMG. Let me put that in a window. Black. NMG. Oh, LAC alarm went off too. We bought calls on this. Bought calls on this on Thursday. Here. All right, so that we actually looked into a bull called Diagonal, but sloppier, but that's a bull rectangle lithium. Found that in that sector that we liked materials. But Titter, Alex, these were on your list. I wrote a couple of them down. But Titter, I got an alarm breakout, sloppy buy setup. Set an alarm on the other computer here. BTB, or else see a gap and down, which I like actually. So I'll set an alarm 1460. See if it can recover that gap. On Jemiah, we're already in, but that's another continuation pattern by adding over Thursday's high. J&J, I love gap reversals like this. So that was your buy setup reversal. And it's just chopping around here. Let's see if it can chop a few more days. That's very similar looking. It's just chopping, resting. Oh, curve alarm went off too. And we have a put spread in this. And I said, I don't know what the news is, but let's 5-minute low for half, 30-minute low for half. So take our money. MU gapping down. I've been watching this for a call spread, maybe 30-minute low. I'm not going to even look at it unless it takes out 30-minute low for starters. ATR alarm just went off. Looks like one print up here, but I don't trust it, but it's going sideways. And block alarm. I had an up and down alarm on this. It's an ETF. For whatever reason, I mean, it says blockchain. I gotta see what this is. But this looks substantially better than Bitcoin itself. It's above all the MAs. GWRE is a Climo, but even though it's a green bar, it's not a great turn. But this 4 sideways bars on the daily is a breakout on the hourly. So maybe that would be a 30-minute high idea. Heart alarm. Now that one's better because you got a 180 reversal. See that? So I'm much more confident of this turn then whatever I just said. GWRE. This one, you could do a 5-minute high. I got app on the other computer. I didn't put this in as a swing trade because I didn't like the reward to risk, but for a day trade, that looks great. 5-minute high. Stop under that 15-minute closing base. Looks great. Thomas asking about Kroger. Yeah, it's a continuation. Yeah, following a 180. Up a bit on the 15, so you don't have a logical stop. But yeah, see if you can get a pullback into the gap, CPRT. I don't like those 3 tails at resistance. So that one I don't like at all. Daku alarm. Don't like the tail on Friday, but I do like the 15. Nothing to do yet, but my alarm went off. Manu alarm. All right, let's do. Yeah, that's a big bar on Friday, but look at that bottoming pattern. It's kind of an inverse head and shoulder that broke out here. And now this is a secondary breakout. Let's do over 5-minute high. IWM the weakest here on 515. Oh, 15 minute. Looks like a short on IWM. Although you don't have a big void on the hourly. That's it on alarms. A monster. A monster. Okay, that gapped up and came in too. Let's do 5-minute high on that also. 8270. J&J alarm, Alex, that's yours. Ooh, that black came in hard after that big old gap up. But we have a bull called diagonal. All right, Manu hitting. Yeah, last night when I looked at the futures, they were down, spiders down 35. And that my immediate thought was, all right, how long is it going to take for this taco to get reversed? And I think we have our answer. It already has. Our Avgo is trail stopping out at a profit. We have a call spread, or let me make sure it's not early alarm. 320. Yeah, this stopped at our profit. 347. We just manage these tight because we got a nice profit and take it. 347. Down at 24 cents. And we already closed half at 26. So average out 25, we'll take it off to the next trade. We got cream put spread or at this curve now, 5 minute. Whoa, 5 minute low. Well, it hasn't stopped out unless it made its 10-cent target. Let me look. 27. Wow, that is an igniting gap on the daily right there. That looks like that's going to 115. But again, we manage these different. Let me see what the premium is, 86.80. Remember, I was shocked how big the premium was when we entered. We got $1 for the spread. All right, now it's only 21. So it's still holding its value. 101.54. Yeah, so that whenever you see big premium, you just better think pending news. Amazing. Black. That trades wildly. Um, I still have an open profit, particularly because we legged into the spread. NMG I was watching, forget about that. All right, cores was a clean hit.